Welcome fellow gamers to a big one, the E3 Preview 2015. Well, one of the new attendees at the show is AMD, and the PC is now represented with its own show, partly sponsored by AMD, with Phil Spencer making an appearance with some Windows 10 and Xbox Marketplace talk. I would keep expectations low on this, with most likely Phil showing off the cross-platform launch of Fable Legends that should coincide in at the end of July with the launch of Windows 10 and the new DX12 library. More can be found here. I feel the biggest news, aside maybe some great new indie games, Steam Machine and more VR demos, will be the full unleashed view of the new Fiji card, rumoured Fury, to be shown publicly for the first time. Expect DICE coding genius Johan Anderson to be on stage with a demo of Star Wars Battlefront running under the new DX12 driver for AMD, something that I am sure, like Mantle, he had a very big hand in. And with Mantle now expired, as I predicted, this will be the best way to show off the new card. My expectations, based on the very hurried launch of Nvidia's new 980 Ti, is that this will outperform all other single GPUs on the market. Bear in mind that AMD have stayed competitive with Nvidia while being the smaller chip. This will be the single biggest GPU AMD have made, and this means it will be very close to the same size against its competition, the GM200 range of the Titan X and the 980 Ti, and I hope for a strong demo and launch for AMD to keep the competition alive in the market, along with its new Zen CPU that should finally put them back in contention on the CPU side with Intel. It could mark a welcome and needed return to form of Team Red. Looking forward to seeing more in a week. Great that the PC now has a platform that is supported by a wide spread of companies, and it should be a good introduction to the platform at E3. But the big and normal guns of Microsoft, Sony, Ubisoft and EA are now joined by the likes of Bathesda and Square Enix, all now having their own show. To keep this video tight, I will merge the third-party thoughts at the end, along with a brief summary of Nintendo, who again will not be present in body but spirit, with an online talk as previous years. No new NX console talk, and my copyright check is still in the mail on that. Is expected, but more updates on last year's sumptuous shown of Zelda, now expected delayed into next year, are also not going to make an appearance. But it's pretty much nailed on to be a launch game for the new console. This will be a great game to launch the machine with and deliver on the promise of the great demo that was shown, which myself and many felt to be too compromised within the Wii U specification. The digital show kicks off with the rebirth of the Nintendo Championships on Sunday the 14th before E3, and then we can view the upcoming plans for the company during its June 16th show that will be streamed across the internet near you. I expect the single most exciting known game is the Project Robot and Project Guard, all tied into the new Star Fox game that was a preview last year but now will be shown here in public. Hopefully this will breathe new life into the console to see out its twilight years, along with some other first party games from the Big N, scattered with some amiibo love of course. Expect a surprise game, hopefully along the lines of a new Metroid, but you never know, with Mario Maker also being a game for this year, and most likely some additional content DLC for Smash Brothers. Some third party will be present from Bandai in the form of Project Treasure, a tomb-based adventure slash 'em up, but I expect most of the show and Treehouse info throughout the week to centre around first party first and foremost. We can hope that we get some bigger hitters to give the show more of a bang, without Link for company. Not content with rocking up at the PC show, Phil and crew will also have a small show of their own with which to entice and demonstrate the allure of the Xbox One console, and my expectations are high in what they have to show. With the story this gen being one of the history repeating itself and role reversal for the two titans of consoles, I very much expect this, and has been said by Microsoft already, that it will be a big year for first party investment. From last year's very weak showing, I felt due to the sheer amount of offline CGI trailers, this one has the feeling that it will deliver a great many treats to a great many players. First, the tease Scalebound, last year from Japan's heroes Platinum Games, with an exclusive deal that will bring the Dragon Riders to life on Microsoft's console. Reflective of the near complete uselessness that these non-game related trailers have, we know next to nothing of the game bar the use of dragons, headphones and a Virgil lookalike, but the team know how to deliver action well, and this could be a huge game for both. Allowing the team that has brought us Vanquish, Metal Gear Solid Revengeance and of course the mighty Bayonetta to deliver a truly amazing game with fast visuals, likely at 60 FPS and tight controls, I am looking forward to this. One of the worst kept secrets is the new Gears remaster that is in the works, overseen by Black Tusk, who have now renamed themselves to the rather contrived The Coalition, but the actual project rumoured to be in works by Splash Damage, based here in the UK, and with leaked footage online we can see that it will deliver the now standard 1080-60 performance with greatly enhanced texture work, lighting and models over the original aging 360 classic. I expect this to contain the original maps, along with fan favourites from the other games in the franchise. Learning from the failed delivery of the MCC series last year, where the task was too large and divided, here they have rightly concentrated on getting the game right and improving on the original and making sure it hits the performance targets that it states on the tin. This will be a precursor to the far more exciting and anticipated showing of the latest entry in the series after completing the Marcus Phoenix Tales. We will be introduced to a new protagonist. Just what the direction will be taken is, with the voice actor of Coltrane rumoured to be involved, although this could be from the remaster, and the team now dedicated to the franchise just like 343i are to Halo. Large budgets, big action and top draw visuals will be a cert, but the time taken to get used to the hardware and a delivery date of 2016, it can also aim to push us hard with the game design, shaking up the action with some more exploration. But this is not only the big franchise that has been revived on Xbox One. After the beta last year, Halo 5 will look to make its true debut with a campaign demonstrated on stage after the multiplayer was given a public airing. Now we know that the series will include a new character, Locke, and that the game will have a split choice on both sides of the story from Master Chief and Locke. The live action trailer certainly leave enough questions into what this story will entail, and we will see a passing of the mantle in the galaxy's hero. With the great work visually that 343i pulled out of the Xbox 360, the expectations are rightly high on what they can achieve with the huge hardware improvements the Xbox One now allows. With the beta delivering a very solid performance and more than enough nods from COD within its multiplayer, the single player may also make some larger changes to the status quo. No matter the aim or plan, I expect this to be another big hit for Microsoft and to shift many units, as even if the franchise has waned in popularity over the years, it is still big enough and with enough effort could make a huge impact at E3 and a launch later this year.
All hail the conquering hero. The one who was supposed to save us all. But now I must save us from you.
In another showing of just how much third-party content they are pushing, Quantum Break will also get another stage demo. This being another game that will launch in 2016, but we have already seen a very impressive demo of this last year, with it highlighting its time-centric game style and more impressive destruction, physics and particle-based lighting and visuals. It will certainly show that the console can deliver the wow factors as much as the next guy. With the plan for linked TV work now ending, the in-parallel live show that will tie into the game is still a mystery as to how this will work or even indeed if it will continue. But this is a game that I and I'm sure many are looking forward to seeing on stage and getting some feedback on hands-on impressions if they get a chance to play it. With Phil rocking up at GDC sporting a Battletoads t-shirt, this started tongues a wagging as to the next new game from Rare, that now that the Kinect is finally laid to rest, recreating the classic NES game is one that will be resonating with a much older player base. It could be a return to form from the Twycross team. Since being confined to the in-house Kinect makers, they have now been rewarded with the chance to make a proper game and not some Wii wannabe partyware. This could also be a huge red herring, and the team could come with another older franchise from a huge selection that they have at their disposal. It will be exciting to see just what they will deliver. What was once set to go head-to-head with another treasure-seeking adventurer now has found the stage all to herself in the genre. Lara will return and rise as yet another exclusive for Microsoft. With this game not having been seen outside of press demos and screenshots, instead we have been treated to some more CGI glory from in-house Square team visual works, and as sumptuous as this is, the need for some actual gameplay is sorely needed and will be very welcome. And expect a large on-stage live demo from Crystal Dynamics as they put a new and improved Lara through her virtual paces. With the game set to expand on the world from the successful reboot, it will now have nature as much as an adversary as anything else in the game. Most likely the demo will consist of a perilous climb in snowdrift using her new dual-wielded pickaxe, then ending with a fight with a bear. Going by the screenshots shown, it looks to have greatly improved on the original, even the enhanced definitive edition, but even though it may be 1080, do not expect 60 FPS on either console when it finally launches late next year across PS4 and PC. As for now, this will be a minimum 6-month deal, but most likely a 12-month one. Lighting looks to have improved further still on its subsurface scattering with hair across characters and the now expansive range of wildlife, most likely using AMD's improved TressFX 3.0, which now includes fur to go up against Nvidia's Hairworks, last seen in anger within the PC release of The Witcher 3. I'm sure that the demo will shy away from being too much bang bang and a more natural and threat-filled world instead, showing that danger can come from anywhere and everywhere. Like many games demoed at the show, I anticipate it to be a real indication of how impressive games are now going to look. In what seems like a gigantic list of games that covers pretty much every area, yet another big franchise will be wheeled out in the form of Turn 10's latest chapter in the Forza series with a number 6. Full 1080-60 is assured, along with dynamic weather and lighting, after the likes of Project Cars and Drive Club have shown how impressive and next-gen it makes it look. With over 450 cars and a huge list of tracks with a standard high simulation engine and tweaking options all available, and the continuation of driver tasks still included, means that online or offline you can still battle. With Turn 10 being a very technically savvy team, and have certainly shown most recently with such an impressive launch game on Xbox One, made it even more impressive knowing that the constraints they achieve this within, my expectations here are high that they will bring the wow factor here, and turn heads when they do. Yeah. Crackdown was teased last year, so expect a huge open world that will use the new remotely assisted dynamic destruction model within the engine, or cloud if you were like PR talk, but aside this new hook and the normal superpowered jumps and destruction, expect it to ramp it up high when shown. Windows 10 will get a note and the updated OS coming to Xbox One around the end of July at the same time it launches on PC. Bring along DX12 for both as it does. Again, this will make a varied level of changes across both to a larger or lesser degree dependent on hardware, but check out my DX12 video earlier in the year to learn more. Fable Legends will be shown to promote this and the first DX12 cross-platform game on PC and Xbox One that will commence Microsoft's push into its own ecosystem that looks to unify areas of its business plan. Most likely this OS will hit just before the big autumn games launch and bring with it some improvements in the system and possibly more hardware allocation to games. But the big change sees much less of a push for third party, and this will be helped in part by the lead Sony has at present, making it easier to arrange exclusive key marketing with the big players, but never underestimate the power of the checkbook. EA are rumoured to have a deal with Microsoft that could have the latest Mass Effect game number 4 revealed on stage with Microsoft as a key partner in this for a 2016 release. This will be backed up with the first DLC content and marketing with The Division, a game that has seen more E3s than any other in recent memory, for early 2016. I also see a large section dedicated to the indie game, rather than a huge list of popular games from smaller companies, with the idea Xbox work changing to make this less restrictive for devs to launch on the Microsoft console, all wrapped up in a nice montage to seal the show. The only question mark remains on if they will give us a taste of HoloLens within the now Microsoft-owned Minecraft that is so suited to the platform and will keep them within the big VR race even if its own version is not quite directly within that form. Aside any other surprises or key deals, it looks like Xbox will look to cement any doubt that they mean business in winning this sales war, and they are most certainly delivering on a rich selection of big budget blockbusters and a wide spread of independent games both this year and beyond that is very compelling. In direct polar opposite status as Microsoft from last gen, Sony have become the home for third party. As the now leader in the console fight, they seem to be pulling all the deals in. Even Andrew House himself has conceded that this year will see a much bigger investment in third party than first party, as its Christmas launch window looks to be much thinner than Microsoft's. But doom and gloom merchants will easily pull the PS4 has no games tag, and this is correct for Sony studios. Development times have become much longer as studios adapt to the new hardware and methods needed within these consoles. This is still a large change for many and an even bigger investment, with both sides burned already from failed launches and incomplete software, and this has affected third party just as much. I think that Sony have shown that they are not afraid to delay games and give them the time it needs. This was highlighted best in the Uncharted 4 delay into 2016, now missing the all-important Christmas window. But we will not be without any Nathan Drake action this year on PS4 or indeed here at E3. Nate and crew will turn up with the long since known Uncharted collection on PS4 now officially revealed for an October release. With this game being worked on by Bluepoint over the past year or so, As I covered in my Gamescom video from the engine's work Naughty Dog managed with The Last of Us remaster, they have gone about turning all of Drake's fortune up from 720-30 into fully expected 1080-60, with no deception in sight from the thief's start or end. Bet you didn't spot my subtle reference there to titles, did you? With this game most likely held off announcement so that it can launch before the last chapter in the Uncharted Nathan Drake saga, it will enable many players who have never experienced these games on the PS3, as they may have never owned one or have only started gaming this generation, to get accustomed to Naughty Dog's epic adventurer prior to the big guns. With updated lighting, textures and models, with the first game most likely seeing the largest benefits from this, I expect many pre-orders to hit for this game when shown, helped in part by access to the Uncharted 4 multiplayer beta that will likely last over a few weeks of Christmas to break up turkey munching and alcohol consumption nicely. But as exciting as this is, it will be to experience for the first time or 50th time again in all its 60 FPS glory. The big draw is what Naughty Dog are doing with the PS4 anew and Nathan Drake in Uncharted 4. Anticipation for this demo that will likely come with a large set piece, aka the infamous 2009 Uncharted 2 showing, and a further story trailer sporting the all new for PS4 real-time cinematics that have already impressed from the showing last year. This will be a big showing for Sony and Naughty Dog, and will be one of the biggest games on stage and for the PS4 to entice more people to buy into the brand. With it being set for 2016 and for the first party games, it will not be alone here, with some other first time shown games most likely falling in 2016 and maybe beyond. One of the areas that Sony has worked on was a successful implementation of PS Plus into the PS4's ecosystem, allowing them to have a yearly subscription for most online services and, more importantly, a continued revenue stream to compete with Xbox Live, and by and large they have done a decent job, security breach notwithstanding. To help the medicine go down, they have a free games plan for PS Plus that certainly adds value, but the postponed indefinitely edition of Drive Club was a big issue for Sony, one that they will announce here as up and running with some recent infrastructure work carried out on servers to prepare for the large influx of fresh gamers looking to partake in one of the best races released in recent years. This will be a good move for them. Expect this to follow up with some larger games for PS4 across the rest of the year into the free options like Knack, Killzone Shadowfall, and maybe even the Order 1886 that I hope has some news on a sequel or DLC additions from the highly talented team over at Ready at Dawn, with a game engine and developer that showed so much potential to be left out in the cold. Most likely followed up with a big section on the area Sony have been strong in pursuing the independent developers will get to show off their latest wares, with a confirmation of the timed exclusive of No Man's Sky last year. This will get more stage time and a launch date that should fall somewhere between the show and the end of 2015. Coming off the back of the Uncharted remaster, we have another big first party house, Sony Santa Monica, that also spent last generation going toe to toe with Naughty Dog as top tech house with the God of War games. God of War 3 still stands as one of the most technically impressive games on the system, something that the team themselves stress they are not as in-depth coders as Naughty Dog, but have such a diligent design, and along with the even more impressive, visually at least, Ascension, both run unlocked around in the 40s in play, with this new remaster seeing the standard 1080-60 treatment but handled by another developer, as the team have been hard at work again trying to take the top spot of technical achievement against Naughty Dog, a position currently held without question by Ready at Dawn with the Order 1886. But the tweets from eternally creative designer Cory Balrog alluding to the wonderment they're attempting on the PlayStation 4, I wholly expect this year to really be a battle of the titans, as they can see who can become top dog, not only within Sony but across both Microsoft and Sony. The need to impress on the visuals cannot be underestimated, and SSM certainly have the form and talent to impress. With the new game likely leaving Kratos behind for a new lead, this will be another big game for Sony that will also fall into 2016. Guerrilla Games are also most likely getting a chance to show off its undoubted talent and arguably the single most technically skilled house here, with its new IP away from the Killzone franchise. Previously rumoured to be titled Horizon, this may be a project title that will cover the open world robot dinosaur adventure that they have been working on over the past few years. With such an undoubted technically skilled team and its own RPG built from the ground up for the PS4, it could not only vie for the sales in 2016, could also look to take top billing in the fight for the most gasps, as it is demonstrated. Like other games that will be shown here, I expect them to have actual gameplay shown along with a story trailer released over the week to keep momentum high. But if we see any other project from deep within the worldwide studios remains to be seen. The ported 1080-60 tearaway from Media Monaco will be on stage and will be one of the bigger releases for Sony this year, but the team must be working on a new project, and this may get shown on stage with a pretty much nailed on demo of its big push into VR, Project Morpheus, that has gained much positive feedback from all that have sailed in her thus far. With the PS4 being able to push such strong visuals at the needed resolution of 1920 1080 on an OLED display and at 120 FPS rate, helped in part by the reprojection tech that upspeeds a native 60 rate to the needed double speed that is higher than all other competition. My gut feeling is that this has come from the help and work from Guerrilla Games. This is essentially an interpolated additional frame being made up from the previous one and will always be on to compensate for any dips. Not only being very clever and impressive, more so with the known specs of the PS4, this will stop any strong nausea setting in and ruining the experience. My only thoughts on VR are that it will be large next year, but not a mainstream area for growth in the next couple of years. I feel that all players from Sony to Valve all want to be in the game rather than sit on the sidelines, and Sony have shown that they have the hardware to compete, and they certainly have the software house to deliver great experiences. So should be a good showing, and I will hopefully get hands on soon to see for myself. But this year for Sony will be light, with Sucker Punch, Bend Studios and others all hard at work on a new games that may or may not get teased here. So third party is a big crutch, and Sony have made sure they have spent well on securing that. The biggest is the EA deal with Star Wars Battlefront having a linked deal, and like Destiny last year, they will push it to make it seem almost like a first party game. This will be a big showing for both Sony and DICE here, as the trailer shown a few months ago that I went through earlier being shown to the public here for the first time, aside the AMD PC showing earlier on console. Expect a softer display from the downsampled trailer, but as the demo showed, the team have worked within the known CPU constraints of the consoles, with multiplayer size dropped to 40 rather than 64, and much of the dynamic destruction reduced, as was clear in the Endor trailer. This will be compensated by much improved visuals and higher quality textures, lighting and AA, all delivered at the 60 FPS needed for a game like this. If the PS4 can hit the 1080 resolution for this game is up for debate, but I'm sure that it will impress and be a big game for both to sell units and cash in on the Star Wars hype that feels as big as ever. Black Ops 3 is another big game this year from Activision, and right now we have not seen the normal tie-in with Microsoft. That is a given within the COD franchise. This could mean that the widely tagged Dude Bro shooter has leapt over to Sony for exclusive DLC, which could be true, but it could also be the signs that no longer carries the weight it once did, and will simply just be a large third-party game that has equal billing on all three formats. If a last-gen version does exist and is being handled outside of Treyarch, who are solely concentrating on now-gen and PC, remains to be seen. But it could also be another game linked with Sony. One game that is very much a marketed game is the latest Batman Arkham Knight. Having been delayed for a final time to the end of this month, we are merely weeks away from playing this ourselves, but still enough time for it to see one last E3. For the latest trailer, we can see the 1080 resolution looks to have been hit from the PS4 at 30 FPS, but check out more from the game if interested from my behind closed doors demo last year, and check back very soon for my detailed head-to-head and technical analysis in and around launch at June 23rd. The only other big first-party game that may get shown to take the edge off the big Forza 6 will be the next GT game from Pelafeli Digital. With the superb achievements they made with the PS3 games, this will certainly be a 1080-60 game that could even edge Drive Club for visual presentation, aided by having far more time and most likely a greater hardware allocation that may come in an Autumn OS update, prior to the next wave of games that will hit our machines this year. So EA, Ubisoft, Bathesda and Square Enix will all have their own shows throughout the opening few days, with big games like the latest Deus Ex Mankind Divided being a personal favourite that I am looking forward to, and will be another great game for Square alongside the rise of Tomb Raider. It is very unlikely they have created a show just to talk about these known games, and with the episodic Life is Strange delivering a fresh take on game delivery, more things are expected here. A new Hitman game is in the works, and E3 is as good a place as any to show that off. along with a huge catalogue of Final Fantasy games, along with a much more detailed look at open world meets James Bond, Just Cause 3. Making a splash in Los Angeles, it marks a chance for Square to get into the limelight. Bethesda have already announced Fallout 4 and a rumoured 2015 launch. This will be a huge game for them and it is a big fan favourite. The early outcry of the visuals has got some tongues a-wagging with expectations of 60 FPS on consoles. My advice here is expect 1080-30 on both, and anything else will be a bonus, as there is much more to a game's frame rate than just GPU work. But they will be pushing the just released Elder Scrolls Online after the enjoyable Wolfenstein The New Order and Old Blood DLC. They have had a good year, but with Fallout already announced, they must have something more on the cards. My guess is the first showing of the new Doom game that was returned to the drawing board a couple of years ago, and this would be a great place to show this off again. It should be a good show, and maybe some of the new IPs that they can show off, like a new Dishonored game, could be a big hit. EA have the latest Need for Speed in development from Ghost Games, along with a fuller showing of the Battlefront. And if the new Mass Effect turns out to be true, then this will also get another showing, padded with latest chapters in Madden, FIFA and whatever else they have to show on the table, which could include another newly announced game. Also expect them to push onwards with the Vault and the subscribe service plan, with early access betas and game releases to make it more of an attractive deal. Ubisoft always puts on a good show, and the latest AC game Syndicate will get a big live demo after its earlier showing. With Unity having such a negative impact on the franchise and sales, I feel this will be the first one in a while that may not be linked to a platform and sell under its own steam. With some new additions in the game looking to alter but not redefine the series, the hand-to-hand combat looking like the biggest change, it will need a good showing here and a solid launch to win back trust in the franchise and the company. Rainbow Six has been reinvented and looks to deliver great multiplayer action as the older games did, with its 1080-60 presentation with possibly the Xbox One running 960, but it should not distract too much from enjoying what looks to be a great game to have group squad-based action online. But it would not be Ubisoft if not for a sneaky new game, with the other 2016 game The Division having a Xbox One showing, and a catch up here. The last game will be a new announcement that will possibly be a new Prince of Persia game or Watch Dogs 2 that will look to exceed that now infamous original showing. My money is on the Prince of Persia reboot that could take over from Assassin's Creed if the franchise continues to lose favour with its latest entry. I think the battleground is set for a monumental E3 that will finally see so many games that have been designed with these machines and specifications known across all formats and platforms. And with PC now having its own show, it means that no matter your preferred platform of choice, everyone has something to look forward to and be excited for. I've had to skip so many games, with the likes of Metal Gear Solid 5 being a huge release this year, that I have something special in the works that I hope many will enjoy and see us through until launch. This will be a great year and beyond for games. With so much potential still on the table, E3 2015 will give us the best demonstration yet of just what we can look forward to from 2015 and beyond. We'll all know more in just over a week. As always, I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this. If so, please hit the like and the subscribe button, only of course if you did. I appreciate each and every one of you that does. I've put all the links below to watch the shows and obviously catch up on my channel for my first thoughts. And as always, I'll see you very soon on the next one.
Their darkness must end.
This should be your fight as well, brother. The promise of a golden age is over.